Hey everybody! Welcome to SuperSoul Boulder. I'm Dr. Lara Johnson from Yellow Brick Physical Therapy in Boulder, Colorado. And happy Monday! Welcome to SuperSoul Boulder. We're back. We weren't gone. We were just taking a break. We were pausing to demonstrate the very topic we're talking about tonight. And once again, SuperSoul Boulder is all about where we come together to discuss mind, body, heart, health, and wellness and how all those things come together. So, right, not just your body, which is one of my favorite things I've studied and love to talk about, not just the mind, which I also love to study and talk about, but also your heart and what makes you you and what makes you, all those things come together. Carlos, hi! I know, it's great to see you. Thanks for your patience. And we're back at it. So tonight's topic is something I just practiced over the last week or so, which can be challenging, right? To pause. And I love the word pause right now because it's not like stopping. The word stopping has a sense of like abruptness, right? And if you stop, you have to start again. But pausing can be different. I used to say I stopped running at one point and kind of challenged myself to do that. And not just running, but all cross training and things I used to do all the time. And it wasn't so much stopping, it was pausing, but I was afraid. I was so afraid that stopping would mean not being able to start again. But if we think of it like pausing, it's a little bit different. So what happens when we let ourselves pause is we might just have a moment of gaining something new. But the really main reason I wanted to talk about this and what made me think about this is there's all this, hi Dan, great to see you. There's a lot of messaging I see out there a lot, especially maybe because I'm a runner and athlete and been a trainer and a wellness person and a physical person and a physical therapist. I tend to see a lot of messages out there from our professional community as health and movement people is to say, keep moving even when you don't feel like it. Just get out there, go do it. And it's all very motivational. And that is great. A lot of us need motivation. A lot of us struggle with energy, with making time for it, with making it a priority to move and to exercise, right? So yes, motivation is great. But for me, and I think a lot of people like me, a lot of people I know who tune in and watch this and love to move, love to work out, love to go to dance class, love to get on trails and run. Like the problem isn't getting out there to do it. So a lot of us also, so I don't hear a lot of encouragement toward those of us who are already motivated and aren't struggling with that, but maybe struggle with the times when you can't move, or where maybe you shouldn't, or maybe, I don't like the word shouldn't, so it's more like if it's not the best idea or the smartest idea for your body to just keep going, or to get out the door even when you don't feel like it, right? There's a difference between not feeling like it or being motivated and when it maybe isn't the smartest choice for your body. So if something physically is going on, whether it's an injury coming on or really feeling physically drained, like you might have an illness coming on. I know I used to just push through those things. I would have rather stayed with the program and worked toward my goal or be so that I feel like I'm ready for a race. But to miss those couple of days even where it might be most important and imperative to pull back and not do. And maybe I missed the message somewhere, but I think in my desire to keep going or fears of what might happen if I stopped or missed a day, what would happen? And so I did a lot of things that kept me injured or made me stay sick longer that I maybe didn't realize in my younger years. And so as I've been wisening up and realizing there's a better way and that it's not the most balanced and healthy thing, I think, at least again in the circles I have been in for a long time for my life, there's a lot of emphasis on keeping moving, right? And I'm not saying don't. That is important. Yes, exercise is so healthy for us. It's great for our brains. It's great for our hearts. It's great for our stress relief. It's great for our making neuroplastic connections. Like there's a lot of things that I know I've studied that are so beneficial to exercise, and not if it's hurting you. not if it's hurting us. So it's okay to pause when and if it's important to pause. It's okay to let something else in life have a front seat or take precedence. And in that light, it's also okay when things come along like a pandemic or like what happened in the South this week. Well, it happened everywhere, but the southern states really weren't ready and aren't used to dealing with that, with a lot of snow and cold temperatures. And so what that got me thinking about is how important it is to not just push forward all the time, moving. Again, not everyone is made up this way, but for those of us who are, it's important to know that it's okay to pull back, to pause, to rest, recover. We all know that there's a lot more research coming out about and more emphasis on recovery as far as athletics and training. But I think it's still important to share because, like I said, I knew all of that all along and still was more driven. I don't know if any of you guys out there are like this too, still more driven to go and move, go out to move, to keep the momentum going, to keep the streak going, then let it be broken. But the important thing about that is if we don't listen to our bodies or if we don't keep some balance in our lives, we lose the well-roundedness in our lives, right? Like when I got so focused on running and academics, that's great. I acquired a lot of knowledge and experience, and I lost sight of some of the other things I really love and enjoy. Creative aspects and writing and other music and other things. And sometimes in those times that I was forced to pause or hopefully more intentionally pause, but at least in that time I'm thinking of where I was really competitive, where I was forced to pause due to injury or usually that. Actually, there was an intentional time where I was like, this is not helping me. I need to do what I tell my patients to do. I need to practice what I preach, things like that. Those are the times when I was so afraid. What stops us from allowing the pause to happen and what comes to come is the fear of losing something, losing the fitness we've gained, losing the momentum we've gained, losing our body shape, losing, we're afraid we're going to lose something. And maybe I'll never run again. Maybe I'll never do what I love to do again. I went through this process of finding out, that was the most challenging thing I could think of that for me to do. And so I leaned into that. And similarly, last week itself, I had the second dose of the Moderna vaccine, which people are saying has had more side effects and very different ones for different people. And I'm fortunate as a healthcare provider to have been on the early stages of that since I'm working with people one-on-one and close-up. And so I'm grateful for that. And man, I was hopeful and optimistic that it wouldn't knock me out, but it kind of had this effect. I didn't get sick, but I did feel achy and I did feel like that run down feeling. I wasn't recovering as well from working out. And I had to listen to that and not just keep pressing through like I used to, like some of us are used to being patterned to do. And so one of the hardest things for me to do was break a streak of even coming on Monday night. It's been since March since I missed a Monday, SuperSoul. And it has been since sometime in December where I missed a day running. So it felt like the most important thing for me to do was to break the streak so that I wouldn't be attached to every day being able to do this. Like it's okay to not keep the momentum going. And even I can feel the fear of, I know what I'm talking about. Will I be off the momentum of what I do here, even just coming on Mondays? And I think that comes back to trust also. Like it's also okay to trust yourself, that you'll know what to do when you get back to it, that it's not like going down the rabbit hole all the way. Stay conscious and aware and listen to your body. Know when it's time to rest more, which it was for me. I just needed more rest. My body was adapting all these new T cells and ways to fight off of it, whatever it was doing and going on. It was taking a lot of energy. And maybe it was that combined with the cold snap we had, which, is a lot of pressure change. So there's a lot going on with that. And mentally, maybe it has some effect. But the point is, it's okay to pause. Why do we give ourselves a badge of honor for keeping going and pushing through and toughing it out when that may actually not be the smartest, wisest, best choice for us all the time? Maybe it sometimes is. I'm not saying maybe it sometimes is, and maybe it is if we've been in a mindset of not being motivated and letting ourselves, succumb to rest more often. Like, so if you're someone who has been more apt to not do, maybe you need more movement. For someone like me who has always gone toward movement, it can be a way to distract yourself. It can be a way to numb yourself to your feelings. It can be a way to get the endorphins and things that we love to get. But if it's creating an issue for your ankle and you're continuing to do that, that might be something to look at, right? If your body's adjusting and adapting to this whole new thing in yourself, you may need time to adjust and rest and give it that opportunity, or do less, or it's not a either or. There's a spectrum, but it's listening to what you need on this particular day at this particular time. And the greater sense of that is this: when we pause and take a breath in your day, right now, something can shift, can settle. I can feel it right now. You might be able to feel it from me. Letting myself. It can be a little scary if you like energy and like being excited and like bringing something in that way. But what can you bring? What can be here? What can you give yourself with that pause? Right now, you can feel your feet on the ground. Thoughts that might have been swirling in your mind might have dropped away. An insight might come for an answer to some problem you're dealing with or decision you're making without all the scatteredness of the mind. And isn't that cool? For me, I can come from this place and speak and get something that comes to mind to speak about right now without pre-thinking it. Isn't that cool? I used to give a lot of speeches in grad school that were research-based and all those things and had to be planned out and, memorized. And how cool is it to see what's coming forth just from this moment? And when we give ourselves a pause, a breath, whether it's in this moment or in an hour in your life or in a day in your life or in maybe it's a year in your life, maybe it's a pause that's activity related from the usual things that you do. Hi, Scott. Or maybe it's something much more minor. Maybe it's just a shift in your routine. Whatever it is, see what came from that. See what comes from that. I took 3 days off of running, which for my non-running friends out there, that can sound like, what's the big deal? For my running friends out there, my ultra folks, it's like, what, it feels good to run. It feels good, natural, especially when you build that base and that ability, and it's easy for me. I've been doing it for years. When I popped back out on Thursday, when the sun came back out and there was a bluebird sky here in Boulder and all the snow was covering bridges and plants and the mountain range, and it was gorgeous. And it really got me thinking about, we get so afraid perhaps of taking a pause or taking a step back or slowing down or having an injury. But what happens is that the 3 days. What? Which right now I was like, I've been feeling so good running. I didn't want to have to take a break for this dumb vaccine and my body feeling this way. But it's so silly, right? It's not. In our minds, it can seem like a big deal, and in the grand scheme of things, it's not. It's okay. So anyway, Thursday I popped back out and it was gorgeous out. And you know, after you've maybe taken a break from something or been cooped up or it's been cloudy and then the sun comes back out and you have this whole new perspective on what it looks like out there. Same thing could happen in here. When you slow down and pause, you can have a whole new perspective on what your body feels like or what a word means. Like pausing. You guys know I don't know, maybe you don't know, but I love to take a word and really consider, like, what does that mean outside of our normal concept or conception of what we've learned that it means. When you directly experience, you get a whole new sense of it, right? When you directly experience that sunshine and the snow on the ground and your body inside and yourself more fully, sometimes it helps to have paused in order to do that. You can get a whole new perspective, both internally and externally. Like maybe you have a whole new vision. Maybe the colors are brighter. And that's just an example of how the weather seemed to change. But our perspective can shift like that even if the outer world looks no different. So there's always an opportunity to pause, to take a breath. And that can be like the greatest thing ever. Every time I had an injury as a competitive distance runner in the past, I would be so frustrated about it. And then finally it's like, hey, get into a new rhythm. And I always felt stronger after and more appreciative of just being able to run for its own sake. Not to mention that it gave me so much knowledge and interest and passion for understanding the human body, which is what I've studied my entire life. So those injuries can be blessings in disguise. Those pauses can be blessings in disguise. Those cold snaps and slow downs or even pandemics. You know, for some, I know some people are hurting a lot and in some ways it can. Who knows how? We might find in hindsight how it can be a blessing in disguise. For me, personally, I tend to add a lot of things to my schedule. Things that I enjoy doing. I teach a class at the gym. I teach a class at the yoga studio. I run, not only run, but go and, add swimming and add yoga and add biking and add, I love physical activity, but having a forced subtraction was so good. It was so good to focus and see more and cultivate other areas and, you'll grow in new ways. So point of this talk is don't be afraid of the pause. Don't be afraid of times where you feel like you have to shift or step back or do something differently or get out of your routine. And maybe there's a whole different alternative to that of leaning into that and seeing what is there and taking that rest and taking those days to, maybe be in the down in the dumps and then pop back out of it. And that's different for everybody, right? So I'm not saying one versus the other. I'm saying we feel your body, listen to your body. Your body's so intelligent and amazing and can tell us what's in the present moment, and it has intelligence. And sometimes it's really easy to not listen to it. Whether it's distracting ourselves more and more with exercise, that can happen, or with food or alcohol or other things, or being really busy or being really social or being not social. Like it varies for all of us. Or not feeling pain or discomfort. We'll find all sorts of ways to distract ourselves and keep ourselves from that. But if we actually stay with what's there, we're that much more likely to develop and deepen into our humanness, which means feeling everything and experiencing everything and not getting too one-sided or single-minded or black and white. We're not black and white. Life isn't black and white. There's a lot of ups and downs. So even it's not even a matter, I could put it this way, it's not slow or fast, and it's not stopping or moving. It's beyond dichotomies. Your life is more dynamic and full and bright and colorful than that. Even when you pause. And perhaps in that pausing, or even out of it, you gain perspective in some new way, whatever way that is. And that's how we grow and develop. And we may not even realize we're getting that perspective until we look back on it years later. Or if we look back on it years later, or months later. So there's benefit in the pausing, the slowing. And I say that especially as someone who has tended to love to go fast and move through life quickly. I know there's a lot of others of you out there who like to do that, whether it's with sport or activity or whether it's with the responsibilities you have in your lives. I have a lot of friends who are like, I just have to do all these things. I am so responsible for all these things. And maybe you can't slow down or pause for that long a time, but you can take a breath. And you can find time for you. And I'm sure that's really challenging with small children to care for. And maybe we can be creative. So do let me know how that lands with you, how that strikes you. And my invitation to you for this week, as you go through this week and this evening even, is to consider ways that you maybe resist pausing or slowing down, or the other. Maybe you resist movement or momentum or speeding up. Maybe it's the opposite for you. Just like I hear a message of like, keep going even if you don't want to. I'm like, I don't really have that problem. I have struggled with holding myself back and not overextending or exhausting myself. It's okay to not exhaust yourself. If you exhaust yourself, you may not have energy to fulfill all the things that you can fulfill in your life and have a fulfilled life and be your fulfilled life. So make sure you stay balanced so that you have the energy to do and be all that you are. And that can shift and change. It's a little like riding the waves, right? So I'll ride waves of exercise and activity and creativity and writing, and sometimes it's hard for me to be with the times where it slows down because I just want it to keep going. But know that it's okay when the waves come downward and you need more rest and you find yourself maybe less motivated or less able or more exhausted or more tired. It might mean you just need more rest. And in getting that rest, the cool thing is that you come back to the things you do more strongly after, right? If you ever done strength training and taken a break, you come back and you're like, oh, I'm rested. I'm not just always sore and broken down all the time. You might take another rest day from running training and come back and go, oh, wow, I feel amazing today. And we don't always notice it. So keep noticing those places where you find yourself wanting or caught in the momentum and not listening to what's needed. It's also great to listen to your body when it does have the momentum and keep going with that. Like, that's great too. But listen, and don't just appreciate the pauses or the times when we get to play because it's more fun, but don't be afraid of the pauses and when the waves come downward, because it might just be what you need to rest and recover for the next wave that's taking you forward and bringing you more momentum. And I have an awesome yoga instructor I know who's always helps me think more about the seasons and tuning into how nature works. And we are technically still in winter until the spring equinox happens in March. So it's okay, it's natural in winter time when the days are shorter to feel more needing rest, or that hibernation mode when the temperatures get colder. And I think we're starting to feel that energy of spring coming as it gets nicer. And we tend to, those of us who like to move a lot, tend to want to reach and move towards spring already. And it's just not spring yet. So it might be time to just you know, let the nature come, let it unfold. No need to rush it. It can come on its own, naturally. So pay attention to those places where you may not want to pause or stop. You may not want to slow down. You may want to reach over it. Excuse me, and keep moving and keep the momentum alive and keep the streaks going. And just pay attention to what that does for you and what it's doing for you, why you want that. And just pay attention, become aware, become more aware of yourself. And thank you so much for joining this SuperSoul Boulder episode. I would love it if you let me know how that lands with you, what your comments are, what your experiences are. I love hearing from you. Give me likes and hearts if you're watching so I know you're here. Or if you're catching the replay, let me know that too. And I'd love to know that you're here watching and that's, what you're getting from this. So pause if you need to and when you need to. And I will see you next Monday for another episode of SuperSoul Boulder, which I believe will be episode 90. Crazy. And I am Dr. Lara Johnson from Yellow Brick Physical Therapy in Boulder, Colorado. And I wish you a wonderful, wonderful week. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate you all so much. And I wish you the best of pausing and playing and all the perspectives you get from all of it. Take care and good night.